Barnaby Butterbur liked routine. He woke at 7 a.m., ate oatmeal at 7:15 a.m., and watered his single-potted fern at 7:30 a.m. precisely. Barnaby liked his fern, but it never seemed to thrive. One Tuesday, after a particularly dreary Monday at the office, Barnaby felt a strange tingling in his fingertips. He absent-mindedly touched a leaf on his fern. The fern quivered. Suddenly, it sprouted a new stalk, covered in broad, jagged leaves. Barnaby stared. His fern had never grown this quickly. It was now twice its original size and overflowing from its pot. He cautiously touched another drooping leaf. The plant exploded outwards, smashing through its terracotta confines. Barnaby watched in disbelief. His tiny apartment was now home to a leafy behemoth. Its leaves were a vibrant shade of green unlike any he'd seen before, and a peculiar pungent aroma filled the air. Barnaby, a man of habit and order, was utterly bewildered. This was not how ferns usually behaved. He tentatively touched another leaf, half expecting his finger to pass right through. Instead, the plant responded with even more vigorous growth. He had to admit, there was a certain satisfaction to it. He felt strangely connected to the plant, almost like it was an extension of himself. Driven by a mixture of curiosity and concern, Barnaby took his overgrown fern outside. He lived in a small town where everyone knew their neighbor's dog's name. It was the kind of place where change happened slowly, if at all. Standing on his porch, Barnaby brushed his hand against a wilting rose bush in his neighbor's yard. He gasped. The rose bush, moments ago on the verge of collapse, sprang to life. It grew with astonishing speed, its thorny branches now heavy with vibrant green leaves. But these weren't rose leaves, they were the same distinctive jagged leaves he'd seen on his fern, only larger. And the smell, that curious pungent aroma, was even stronger now. Barnaby's heart raced. He had a gift, or perhaps a curse. He wasn't sure which. Word of Barnaby's unusual ability spread faster than a juicy rumor at a church social. At first, people were skeptical. They whispered about strange lights and alien encounters. Then, Mrs. Peabody's prize-winning petunias, which had been on their last legs after a particularly nasty aphid infestation, miraculously revived after Barnaby's visit. Suddenly, everyone wanted a piece of Barnaby's magic touch. Barnaby, overwhelmed by the attention, decided to leave town. He packed a small bag, grabbed his trusty trowel, and set off on foot. He walked for days, the weight of his newfound ability pressing down on him. He wondered if his touch would ever fade, if he'd ever be able to lead a normal life again. He passed through bustling cities and sleepy villages, each one a testament to concrete and asphalt. He couldn't help but feel a pang of sadness. Where had all the green gone? One evening, he stumbled upon a small town nestled in a valley. The town was dusty and gray, its inhabitants looking as weary as the drooping sunflowers in their window boxes. Barnaby knew what he had to do. He spent the next few days walking the streets, touching every wilted plant, every neglected tree, and everywhere he went, a sea of green followed. The townspeople, initially wary, watched in amazement as their town was transformed. The air, once thick with dust and exhaust fumes, now carried the sweet, earthy scent of, well, the townspeople weren't quite sure what it smelled like. Some found it a little strong, others found it strangely invigorating. They all agreed on one thing: their town had never looked or smelled so interesting. Barnaby's journey took him across continents and oceans. He walked through deserts that bloomed with unexpected life and cities that rediscovered the color green. He learned to control his touch, coaxing delicate ferns from cracks in the pavement and towering trees from forgotten seedlings. He couldn't always speak the language, but the language of growth, of life springing forth, was universal. People's reactions varied. Some saw Barnaby as a savior, a green knight come to heal the planet. Others saw him as a menace, disrupting the natural order with his peculiar brand of botanical manipulation. Governments debated his motives, scientists tried to unravel his secrets. Through it all, Barnaby continued his quiet mission, leaving a trail of verdant growth in his wake. He learned that change, even positive change, is often met with resistance, but he also learned that the simplest acts, like nurturing a seed, can have the most profound impact. Barnaby never quite got used to the smell, but he came to appreciate the quiet rustle of leaves, the feel of cool earth beneath his fingers, the satisfaction of watching life flourish where once there was only barrenness. He was no longer just Barnaby Butterbur, the man who liked routine. He was Barnaby Butterbur, the accidental gardener, the man who turned the world green, one touch at a time.